if you Google menopause and click images, what do you see?
Oh.
Because at the time what you saw was a load of blonde, white blonde women, grey, sallow women, sitting like this. And Daily Mail sometimes uses that image still.
Yeah.
Like, as you know, that menopause is, you didn't see anybody wearing colour, you didn't see any black people of any different race, you didn't see anybody joyful. Older women were just like relegated to having a headache and feeling really sad. And it was hilarious. I mean, it wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny now.
Yeah.
And obviously it's changed a lot since then. But my biggest driver was, I knew that stress exacerbates menopause. I know that racism is a form of stress. I know that stress can bring on your hot flushes. And I wanted to know how women who look like me were dealing with this.
Hello and welcome to Women Wellbeing with me, Natalie Anderson. Today we're talking how to build confidence with creativity, leaning into healing, and the experience of Black women in menopause with educator, designer, author, and the founder of Menopause Whilst Black, Karen Arthur. So sit back, relax, and get ready to join us in our conversation.
The thing about creativity is you let go of the outcome. If you decide, I have to be perfect at this, that's what the problem is. We get to adulthood and we think, I can't do this because I know someone who can do it better.
I don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas my argument is, start with the stuff you know. Start with colouring.
Yeah.
Because there are adult colouring books out there. Start with playing around. Let go of the need to know what the hell you're doing, And once you let go of that, honestly, it's liberating.
Today, I am very excited to be joined by an incredible woman who, if you looked up polymath in the dictionary, you would definitely find her picture. A former dancer and teacher, she's also a fashion designer, stylist, broadcaster, author, and founder. As the host of the Menopause Whilst Black podcast, she's passionate about amplifying Black women's voices and their experiences in menopause and creating safe spaces where women can thrive, build confidence, and find their midlife magic. A passionate artist and textile creative, she's created works for Sky Arts and the Migration Museum, alongside contributing to Vogue, The Guardian, The Telegraph, Times Radio, Channel 4, BBC Radio London, and many, many more on topics of menopause, women's health, fashion, and creativity. She's also appeared in campaigns for Boots and Estee Lauder and is helping women find their own confidence and expression in the beautiful space of the Joy Retreat. Alongside all of this, she's also a mum and a grandma, and her book, Grandma's Locks, was voted the winner of the Reader's Choice at the Diverse Book Awards. It is an absolute pleasure to have her with me. I'm surprised she can fit me in. It is the brilliant Karen Arthur. How are you going to fit us in?
I tell you what, that's the best bio ever. Honestly, that's so good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's all you.
And thank you for my perfect cup of tea. I'm so happy.
Lavinia, you did a great job. Well, Karen, like I said, that list is absolutely incredible. You're clearly a really creative person. I mean, just tell me about your interest and where it all stems from.
Oh, goodness. I've always been creative. My mother's creative.
Yeah.
So my parents came over from Barbados in the 60s. And as women, it was about making a home. So you were taught to sew as a woman. You were taught to sew when you were young. And you made your curtains and you made your cushions and you made your kids' clothes and stuff like that. So for my mum, it was second nature. Mum always had a, fabric stash.
Oh, yeah.
So I would dive, and with lots of bright colours I now remember, and I would dive into that fabric stash when she was at work, or I thought she, wouldn't find me, and do hand sewing. I remember, I'm laughing now. She had a length of purple, flowery, colourful, kind of see-through, chiffony, stretchy fabric that I folded in half and then lay on the floor, and somehow managed to draw my outline and then cut a hole in the neck. Of course, I put it on, but I'd not factored in the fact that I needed to walk. So it was so narrow, I had to hobble along the bedroom. That's the first thing I made, actually. But later on, when my parents split when I was 14, 15,
Mm.
and I also developed hay fever at the same time.
Mm.
And my story in my head has always been that because I couldn't go, the common wisdom was to not to go outside
Yeah.
during the long hot summer. So my mother, I think we went to the local fabric shop. We bought some fabric, some white cotton drill, and a pattern.
Yeah.
And I made a pair of wonderful trousers that I would love to replicate again. And my story is that she did that because I had to stay in during,
Mm.
because I had hay fever. But I now realise, I suppose, age does that, and someone who's also split from my partner
Yeah.
years ago, is that that was also an opportunity for her to be able to be with me, just the two of us. So it
Oh,
was a bonding
yeah.
exercise, and I have fond memories of just sitting next to my mum and her sewing machine and her explaining to me what to do, and I took to it like the proverbial duck to water, and I've sewn ever since, and and also done the same thing with my daughters, and I'm also doing the same thing with my grandson. He loves sewing.
I think sewing is such an
Yeah,
incredible thing. You just reminded me, you just literally sent something off in my own head. I remember when I was young, the same thing. Like I wanted to emulate my
yeah.
mum, and she had a swimming costume, and while she was out at work, I cut it up and made it into a small version for me.
Oh.
And put bows on it, and was like, "Look what I've done!"
Oh my
Yeah, but
gosh.
that thing of wanting to be
Yeah,
with your mum and like wanting to have that shared experience, and
yeah,
such an important thing. And in terms of like style and fashion and creativity and that freedom of expression, I've read that you've said that in parts of your life it's healed you,
yeah.
and it's
100%.
and just talk to me a bit about that.
I believe that creativity is like meditation.
Mm.
And I also strongly believe that everybody is creative. I think that when we're younger, when we're in school, very quickly we put ourselves into categories when we go into art class, for
Yeah.
example, and they're the people who can draw and the people who can't draw. So very quickly we decide which category we fit
Mm.
into. And then as we get older, we lose the permission almost. It's almost like art is for being young, or art is something that's not serious because you can't make a living out of it. It's not a
Yeah.
serious subject, all that
Yeah.
foolishness. Now, I don't believe that at all. And I think also the artistic life has changed.
Mm.
But there is something about giving yourself permission to play and giving
Yes.
yourself permission to just sit down and focus on what's in front of you. Nothing else can get in.
Mm.
So I do crochet in meetings. It focuses my mind. Um, or a particular instance for me is making a quilt, learning to do something like paper piecing where it's small bits of fabric.
Yeah.
I um I was signed off work, where are we, 2014,
Mhm.
2015, and I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I ended up leaving my job. Coincided with the fact that I'd gone into menopause, didn't make the connection, no one else was making the connection,
Yeah.
so why was I?
Not
Why
back
would I?
then,
None
yeah.
of that. So 2015, I found myself without a job, fun employed, I called it at the time.
I'll
And
have to coin that one.
I know, right? And then, but there was a weekly craft morning at a place no longer exists, called Stag and Bow. Shout out Cyrus and Pascal. And I went there, and Cyrus, the husband,
Mm.
who was a framer. He was cutting out bits of fabric and like, and I said, "What are you doing?"
Mm.
And he showed me what to do. Showed me how to hand sew it together. It's painstaking, hand sew it
Yeah.
together. And I had a lot of scrap fabric from sewing. I'd always sewn. I
Mm.
was using a lot of Ankara fabric, African print fabrics, bright colours. Clearly, I love colour. And I didn't want to throw the scraps away, so I had a lot of fabric.
Mm.
So I made a lot of little hexagons out of that and started to sew it together. And then I'm off work, and I don't want to leave my house. I have social anxiety. I feel guilty for leaving the kids in the lurch, as in leaving
Mm.
the kids at school. Um, the thing about depression is that you can't see it.
Mm.
And lots of people who we walk past people who are depressed all the time. We socialise with people who are depressed all the time, and we
Mhm.
don't know. And how many times has someone taken their own life and then people gone, "But I only saw him.
Yeah.
I only saw them."
Yeah.
But, and it happens.
Mhm.
But this was the only thing I would leave my house for. I'd leave my house for this weekly craft morning, and I would leave it for therapy and to get shopping. But I'd go shopping like, late with my
Mm.
hood up, and so I wouldn't bump into anybody who knew me, you know.
Yeah.
So the act of creating, and someone said to me, "What are you making?" And I just said a quilt, and it was about that big at the time. Of course, quilts are huge.
Big, a big.
And I did. I made a quilt. I finished it. It took me maybe a year. I have it. Who's got it? I've got it.
Oh,
And then I've since made another one. My mum has, and I'm now in the middle of another one. And it is literally tiny bits of cutting and sewing, watching TV or on a train or on holiday or, that kind of
mm,
thing. The thing about creativity is you let go of the outcome.
mm.
If you decide, I have to be perfect at this, that's what the problem is. We get to adulthood and we
Yeah.
think, I can't do this because I know someone who can do it better.
I don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas my argument is start with the stuff you know, start with colouring.
Yeah.
There are adult colouring books out there, start with playing around. Let go of the need to know what the hell you're doing, you know. And once you let go of that, honestly, it's liberating. It's so liberating. And we're not used as adults to not knowing shit.
No, we think we've got to have it all figured
We
out. We've got
think,
to
yeah,
adult.
yeah. So we end up not learning new things.
Yeah.
And actually, learning new things is a way to keep you alive. Staying curious keeps you young.
I mean,
You
what you
know.
just said there, I feel like this quilt has saved your life in lots of ways, and the
Mm,
fact that it gave you a purpose in that day, which would have,
yeah.
possibly been a difficult place for you, and the fact that actually having that little goal, that thing that you could go to, for anyone that is struggling. I know when I've struggled in the past before with anxiety, which is
Mm,
how this whole podcast came about, was
right.
the fact that having these tiny goals
Yeah.
to just to
Mm,
meet myself there and go,
mm,
well done, you did it. Next bit, next bit.
yeah.
But then the love that's gone into that as well. And I love the
Yeah.
fact that you've still got it and that you've made
Yeah,
others.
it's my beach blanket now.
Is it?
Yeah. And I will say it's interesting because I was living in London at the time and I've now moved to the seaside, which has really helped my mental
Mm-hmm.
well-being. But also I've noticed that I hire a studio. I'm not making anything for something
Mm,
at the moment, but that will come. But I'm finding that just having the opportunity and the privilege to be able to leave my home, go to the studio, mess about with fabric, make this was the latest thing that I made this out of it's a petticoat
I
made
love
out
it.
of an old bed sheet and some vintage lace. Just and
Mm,
playing. Actually, nothing else can get in. I'm not hiding from the world necessarily, but for me, the act of sitting down at the sewing machine, I feel my central nervous system calm.
yeah.
It's beautiful. And I urge, not if you're not a sewer, if you can knit, if you can crochet, but colouring in, playing, cutting up paper, collage is a wonderful way, cutting up
Yeah.
or tearing magazines with no thought other than I just want to play. It's a gift, and more of us should do it, I think.
And that's the thing is we're not given permission to play, as you
Yeah,
said. We're not allowed to do
yeah,
that. We get to a certain point in our lives where it's like, okay, now which path are you going to take? Like what are
yeah.
you going to do? You
But
can't do
school
that now.
does
That's
that to
that's
you.
frou. Yeah,
School
it
does
does
that
do
to us
that to you.
because
Yeah,
you choose your options,
yeah,
and the options have to lead to the next bit, and that has to lead to university, and it has to be a certain thing at
yeah.
university, and then that has to lead. So we're already funneled. We're funneling, 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 funneling,
Mm,
and sucking the fun out of everything
yeah.
basically. Um, and well, it's one of the many reasons I don't teach anymore is because I
Hmm.
can't toe that line of you have to do things in a certain way because I'm living proof that follow the path that suits you at the time, and then you're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to try new things. In fact, I'd urge people, particularly people who are getting to a crossroads, to
Yeah.
try new things and allow yourself to go wrong and fail and F it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I just
And I think it's, again, like you say, in the society that we live in, we're kind of not allowed really or given permission to do that. And I suppose also there's an aspect of reinvention and
yeah.
of like, okay, but this has been my identity for so long, and can I switch it up? Am I allowed to? Can I? I'm so attached to this now.
Mm.
What do I do? I mean, for you, like obviously you were a teacher for such a long time,
Mm.
and then you were signed off sick, so you were almost, I suppose, forced into a
I was
situation.
forced, and I thought I would teach forever
Yeah.
and then retire and then wait for my grandkids. That I had my life planned out for me, and a few things happened in my life that has brought me here, I suppose. One of them was leaving an abusive partner behind.
Right.
But then all that happened is I ploughed everything into making sure my girls were all right,
Mhm.
making sure I was the best I could be at my job, kept my house, kept my car, all that kind
Mm.
of stuff. So I went into that. But we all know that if you don't address these traumatic, events in your life, eventually they'll come and bite
Yeah,
you in
they
the
will.
bum. You know,
Yeah, they'll come and get you.
and so it was about 7 or 8 years after that that I started to feel a little bit, wobbly, to put it mildly,
Mm.
but I didn't think I had a choice. So I was forgetting to go to meetings. God, that's awful. My to-do list would make me burst into tears.
Yeah.
I would yeah, I was forgetting major things, and I and didn't wanna tell anyone because no one was talking about menopause. We're talking
Yeah.
2014. No one was talking about menopause. I didn't know that was part of menopause. I didn't know brain fog was a thing. I was kind of having hot flushes, but I wasn't I think I just decided that that wasn't it. I
Yeah.
don't know, I trying to put it to the back of my head because what can I do about it?
Well,
Like, I can't
also,
do anything
if
about
it
it.
was the start of like the perimenopause
Yeah,
transition, we weren't talking about stuff then. I mean,
not
we've
at all.
only started talking
Not
about
at all.
perimenopause probably in the last five
Yeah,
years, and so that whole bridge of being 35 upwards was
yeah,
not even a thing. Like
yeah.
we did a whole event on it of bridging the gap between pregnancy and menopause and how it can go across this whole 15 years. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? But nobody was talking like
No.
that.
And so when went off sick, I was trying to get better to go back to work.
Yeah.
That was just what I was doing.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a few things. So we get to 2015. I fell down a hole, which sounds really funny. Well, I thought it was funny, but it's not funny. But it kind of, I'm an ex-dancer, ex-dance teacher, so I'm used to my body being able
Mm.
to do as it's told. And falling, it was only a tiny little hole, but falling balked all my right side, and gradually things started to shut down.
Right.
And that, had an effect on my self-esteem. I'm also off work, can't do the job that I've been doing for years and I'm really good at. I will have been teaching for 28 years when I
Yeah.
finally left. And then I had a meeting in school that kind of churned everything around. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going back. I'm not going back." And I had no idea what I was gonna do. I just thought, "I'm not going back to
Yeah.
school." So when I left, I thought, "Oh, well, I'll get better now." That was what I thought.
Mm.
And of course, we all know that if you create a vacuum, something's gonna come in.
Yeah.
So I took school out of the equation, but all it meant was it allowed me to go deeper in depression, and then 2 months later, my aunt passed away.
Right.
So it was like grief and depression and things not going the way I was supposed to be going and all that kind of thing. So when my aunt passed, I was executor of her will, my aunt Monica, and so I was kind of going into superwoman mode and doing all of
Yeah,
that.
you do all the
Yeah,
stuff, don't you? Because you kind of have to
yeah,
do all the
who
jobs.
else is gonna do it?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until kind of September, October, both my girl, were off doing their thing, and, that's when I really kind of lent into sounds like I did it on purpose, into depression, but I would wear black clothes, dark clothes. I had long locks at the time.
Mm.
Didn't really do my hair much. Put hoods up when I went out, hugged the sides of the road. Didn't really go out and felt guilty for leaving in the first place. And it was a really difficult time. But in that time, I was also sorting my aunt's flat out.
Yeah.
So I was getting rid of all of her stuff, and there are a couple of items in there, Caribbean elders love C&A and Marks and Spencer, St Michael, good quality British clothes. And cheers colonialism. And she had a St Michael's skirt and a
Yeah.
C&A skirt, which were beautiful vintage A-line deliciousness. And I kept them because I missed her. And I started to consciously put on colours and clothing that either belonged to her.
Yeah.
I had a pair of earrings and I've got her bracelet, but also colours that I knew would help me get out the house.
Yeah.
And before this, I'd always been into fashion, love
Yeah.
a bit of
Yeah.
fashion, but I was very much into outside validation, very much into shoulder pads, heels, looking the part, the way my
The
figure
armour
looked.
and
Yeah, all
everything.
that.
Yeah.
But my clothing was a mask.
Mm.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
So what grief and menopause and depression, in a weird way, gifted me was the freedom to dress exactly how I wanted to. So I love colour.
Yeah.
I started
Because
to,
I can't imagine you
yeah,
now when now
right?
I'm like looking at
And
you
it's
and
not that I
obviously I've seen
don't,
your presence,
yeah,
but
it's not that I don't wear black, but if I wear black, you guarantee it's going to have some kind of pop of colour.
yeah.
But for me, that's my thing.
Mm.
But I started to talk about it on Twitter at the
Yeah.
time. Before
And
it
so
became,
are we getting into the where you're happy?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And what I found were two things. One, wearing what I loved and not caring about what people thought about me
Mm.
really freed me. But two, where you're happy was for people watching me. So
Yeah.
they would say, "Where are you going dressed like that?" "Oh, I'm going to Sainsbury's," you know, or they thought I was dressing up. So I talk about colour, but I
Mm.
also talk about clothes with memory,
Yeah.
clothes that people have given to you, textures, soft textures, vintage clothing, clothing with a history. All of these things add up to choosing clothes that lift your mood.
Mm.
And there is something in it.
Definitely. Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
people are
definitely.
more into it now.
Yeah.
It's fashion psychology, wearapy, that kind of thing. But at the time,
And colours, especially like,
yeah,
your
exactly.
colour, what are your
People
colours or what
understand more.
the what's behind a certain colour when
Yeah,
you wear it.
yeah. And I feel. I remember this one time I was going to a jazz festival and I'd arranged to meet a friend because I knew that would help me go,
Mm.
but I really didn't want to go. And I remember sitting on my bed with my towel wrapped around me and looking at my wardrobe and thinking, okay, what can I wear that's going to get me out the house? And I put on a yellow kente headcloth, head wrap, and a yellow top that I'd made, and a pair of jeans that I'd made, and some yellow platforms. And that got me out the house because I
Yeah.
knew that once I got to this jazz festival, Jazz Refreshed, South Bank, once I got there, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'd know everyone. It was just the act of getting from my yard
Mhm.
to the station that was the
Yeah.
problem. And it worked, And then I thought, oh, this is a thing. For me, this is a
Yeah.
thing. I didn't realise the big thing it would become,
Mm.
but for me, it worked. I had a lot of clothes in my wardrobe for a couple of years after I left teaching that I had to find a way to wear in a different way
Mm.
or give to a charity shop because they just didn't suit the person I'd evolved into. The
Yeah.
shift dresses and the black jackets with
The
the brooch
teacher.
and and the toten tights and that's just not me anymore,
And I
you
think it's
know?
all right, isn't it? And we're allowed to change. We're allowed for our style to shift
Yeah,
and move and evolve and
yeah,
for us to become a different version of ourselves through, as we're growing. Obviously where you're happy is now kind of it's bigger and you've gone on to do many other creative things. But I wanted to kind of come back to the area around
yeah,
menopause.
sure.
I wanted to kind of talk to you a bit more about that and kind of obviously the podcast is incredible. It's in its 8th season, which is amazing. For anyone that's doing podcasting, we all know and we can all clap that how amazing it is to actually, get past season 1. So
Mate,
congratulations. But obviously it was born out of a certain time and a
yeah,
certain need for women as
yeah.
well.
Okay, so 2020,
Yeah.
Black Square Summer. Uh, we're all at home. We're in lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
I was making masks, as many people who could sew were.
Yeah.
And I had been a bespoke fashion designer, but I couldn't go to my studio,
Mhm.
and I had no clients. And then I'd made, I think in February 2020, I made a scarf out of some Ankara fabric
Yeah.
and put a picture on Twitter, and someone DM'd me, "Are you selling them?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Yes.
And then 2 weeks later, we were in lockdown.
Mm.
So I was making masks, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and they're orders coming through, and two things happened. First of all, we're a captive audience, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we're all watching the news, we're all online, and the news of Amy
And
Cooper
it was an
and
intense
Christian Cooper,
time,
it was
yeah.
really intense. Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper. So Amy Cooper was a white woman who called the police on Christian Cooper in
Mm.
Central Park. That happened, and she weaponized her white tears, and then 24 hours, 48 hours later, George Floyd
George
was
Floyd.
murdered at the hands of a police officer. And the world started to understand, we felt, what Black people had known all along,
Mm.
you know? And it was something that it's an image that you couldn't unsee. And at the time, you'd go onto Facebook, and you'd scroll, and the video was coming up straight
Mm.
away, straight away, straight away. And I was having nightmares, as many of my friends were having nightmares about this image and seeing it all the time. And I felt a rage, and I didn't know what to do with it.
Mm.
And a few other things happened. I was very active on Instagram at the time. I still am, but then. And I woke up, I think, on the 29th of May or something, which is a day later, and I'd gained 400 followers, which is a huge amount.
Yeah.
And I've described it as being akin to waking up, opening your eyes in your bedroom and seeing your bedroom full of
Full of
strangers looking at you
people.
like, what are you doing here? And most of them were white folks,
Mm.
a lot of white women. And this was on my main account. I didn't have Menopause Whilst Black.
Yeah.
Menopause Whilst Black didn't
Didn't
exist.
exist then.
So I was like, "What is going on?" And all my Black friends were the same, all my friends who were on social media. Um, and it was very uncomfortable. But at the same time, it put something in me, because I went quiet for 5 full days on Instagram, which is unusual for me, and then I did a video. And the video starts with, if you go and you can this video still somewhere on the internet. If you Google menopause and click images, what do you see?
Oh.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
and of course people did it. People did it because at the time what you saw was a load of blonde, white blonde women, great sallow women sitting like this. And Daily Mail sometimes uses that image still,
Yeah.
like, as that menopause is. You didn't see anybody wearing colour. You didn't see any Black people of any different race. You
Mhm.
didn't see anybody joyful. Older women were just like relegated to having a headache and feeling really sad. And it was hilarious. I mean, it wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny now.
Yeah.
And obviously it's changed a lot since
Yeah.
then. But my biggest driver was, I knew that stress exacerbates menopause.
Mm.
I know that racism is a form of stress. I know that stress can bring on your hot flushes. And I wanted to know how women who look like me were dealing with this.
Yeah.
Seeing people who look like their brothers, their uncles, people, Sandra Bland, and all the people who were killed up until that point,
Mm.
before and after. How were they coping? How was that affecting their menopause symptoms? So it was literally that.
Yeah.
So I did the video, put it on my Instagram. People got it. It went, viral of that ilk at the time. And then I decided to do a survey about
Mhm.
what people knew about menopause, and I was particularly interested in Black women because I'd started to do my own research,
Yeah.
and my research had thrown up that Black women start menopause 8.5 months and up to 2 years
Yeah.
earlier than our white counterparts. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Why isn't this common knowledge? Why don't I know this? Why doesn't anybody know this? Um, so I kind of reached out. I had a massive imposter syndrome around doing a survey because I thought, well, I'm not a researcher. And I thought someone else will have done it. But the only research I could find where people had asked Black women, and it wasn't Black women, it was BME,
Yeah.
before BAME, which we don't use anymore. But they asked 22 people in the survey.
Mm.
I think it was Northamptonshire, Trust or something, and it was wanting to know why Black BME women were less likely to take HRT.
Yeah.
So it was, and of those 22 people, 4 of them identified as Black women. So it was Asian women. It was,
Yeah.
it was,
Everybody kind
yeah.
of put together in one
So that was the
collective.
only
Yeah.
research that was in the
And was
world.
that around about in the
So that was
early
2007.
2000s?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2007. So I was kind of like, oh, someone's going to tap me on the shoulder and tell me it's been done.
Yeah.
And then I did it. I put it on Twitter. I put it on my newsletter. I put it in various places. And I got 400 people. And what was coming out of that was, 1, no one knew anything.
Yeah.
And 2, they wanted more. And what they were saying is, we need a podcast.
Yeah.
Now, there was one podcast that existed at the time that focused on Black women, Black women's experiences of menopause and aging. And it was actually, it's not Black women, it's Black people with ovaries. But also, it was American. It was by my good friend, Amishadi Bernie Scott.
Who's been here.
Right?
I love her. She's
Right?
amazing.
But it was very American.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was, I was like, I'm not a podcaster. I'm not that. Like, I don't do this. So I honestly thought someone else would do it.
Mm.
But I also have a couple of friends who are podcasters, good friends, who were like, well, just get on with it. Just buy a microphone. So I bought
yeah.
a cheap little blue.
Was it the round one?
The round
The
one.
little round one.
What's it called? I can't remember.
Blue something or
Yeah.
other, but it's that first
I bought
mic.
that.
Yeah.
And
And
a
it's
little
like a
pop
cheaper
thing.
one that you can get.
There you go.
Listen.
Off eBay. And it sat in the box for 4 months. And then I went into YouTube and I looked at how to edit, and I realised I could do it on GarageBand.
Yeah, all the things. You
and
have
know
to
what
do
was?
it.
You know what it was that made me start? First of all, my good friend Nat Lou, author of The Joy of Saying No, she was like, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Now, I was having difficulty with that because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So I was like, and I didn't, like I said before, I didn't want to be new. I wanted to be perfect. So you know how you do your research and you look at all the podcasts that are written. So I looked at bloody Adam Buxton's podcast, which is incredible, and got a lot of backing. I was trying to aim for that kind of
straight away,
right.
yeah. And there is a growth
Bad
period,
idea.
but you didn't want to. I understand.
I mean, I
I'm there
cringe when
with
I
you.
listened to my first episodes, and Ami was and then I emailed 10 Black women who I wanted to interview, and every single one of them said yes. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I've got to do it now.
You've got to do it now.
So I did it, and I edited it myself for the first couple of seasons, and it's hard.
Wow, that's amazing. That is really hard.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm kind of glad because I now know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And then I put a shout out on Instagram with my hand in, like literally doing that, going, guys, I need help. And the lovely Erin came into my life, and she did the next few seasons. And then my daughter Cream got involved when we went onto YouTube.
Yeah.
And it just kept going. And you know what's wonderful about it? The podcast is for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't own the airwaves.
Yeah.
But I'm adamant that I want to showcase the experiences of Black people who experience menopause, because there aren't enough stories out there.
Mm-mm.
And it's really important to, when you are going through something, that you don't feel alone. When I went through menopause, when I realised I was going through menopause, when I Googled, first of all, I frightened the life out of myself because I Googled it and all the symptoms came up. But also, I didn't see anybody who looked like me, anything like me. I didn't see anybody with my skin colour, my sensibility, the way I show up in the world. No one was talking about that. And so I feel Menopause Whilst Black filled a void. There still is, I will say, around diversifying the menopause space. Anyway, it took off, and it took off because it was necessary, and also because, there was nothing else there.
No.
And so it was, and I feel the more we speak up, the more stories we hear, whether they're trans stories, Black women, Asian women, Chinese, everybody.
Yeah.
If everybody's talking, then it parallels everybody. There are still massive differences in the way in which different races are able to access care. I was watching something the other day about
and education as well.
And education. whether we're believed when we go to the
Oh
doctors,
gosh, yeah.
you're too young to have
Yeah.
menopause, whether we're giving the right care. So a lot of Black women who've spoken to me talking about being given tablets, and I'm going, no one takes tablets for HRT
Yeah.
anymore. Go back and get, transdermal stuff. Go back. We've been brought up to believe that doctors know everything, and yet we've all sat in a room with a doctor and they've Googled. No shame in the game,
Yeah.
but there's so much more to do. And there's also a lot of distrust around the medical profession born from medical
Yeah,
racism. And
absolutely.
also, this whole thing around HRT, like Black women are still half as likely to take up HRT. Full disclosure, I use HRT. It works for me.
Mhm.
But there shouldn't be this them and us thing.
Yeah.
And I think the noisiness, because it's very noisy in the menopause space, innit?
Very.
Innit?
But
With
getting the right
Yeah.
information is so hard as well.
Well, girl, let me tell you, but Instagram's a bit mad.
Yeah.
Like, people just come out with these things with no backing,
Yeah. And you're like,
and
"Is this
then
right?
and
Is
then
it
of course
wrong?"
the brands get
Yeah.
involved, and I'm very mindful of only endorsing things that I use and I believe in,
Yes.
which means I don't endorse a lot. Uh, and it's hard, and I can't imagine what it must be like coming, not realizing that you're going through perimenopause,
Mm.
the penny dropping, and then thinking, well, who do I listen to? Because that person says this, that person
Yes.
says this. Maybe I should be wearing a weighted vest. Maybe I should be taking these supplements. I mean, the supplement game's gone berserk.
Whoa, I mean, yeah. We did
Maybe
a
I
whole
should
other
be
podcast on
right.
that, yeah.
My advice is to listen to yourself. I think when I had depression, it forced me to be quiet.
Mm.
All my mates were at work anyway. So I had nowhere
You
to
can't
go.
speak to
Yeah,
anyone.
there's no one there. And I didn't want to see anyone. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win situation. So what I did is I went deeper into my yoga practice,
Mm.
learnt to mindfully meditate, got very quiet. And the thing about menopause is it can be an opportunity to change things around for the better,
Mm.
because you're not doing it for a week or 2 weeks. You're not trying to get a summer body. It's not that. This is forever. And I found that I journaled better. I
Mm.
journaled more. I love being on my own. I'm great. I love being around nature.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of stuff we know that isn't right for us.
Mm.
We know, but either we don't know what to do or we don't recognize that we can change it. And I feel that we often do have the answers, but we're so busy doing all the things
Yeah.
for everybody else as well as ourselves that we mask it, or it can't get through.
Yeah.
It literally can't get through, you know. And so the gift for me has been the opportunity to listen to myself. So my attitude, yes, I know more about weights and I know more about protein. I've never looked for eating I never eat enough protein, but I've never thought about it more in my
Yeah.
life. But I exercise based on how I'm feeling, but also based on what my body needs,
Mm.
and the fact that I want to be able to, be around for my grandson, play around with him, run up and down the street, that kind of thing with him whilst he's young and not be out of breath. Well, not too much anyway, and that kind of thing. And I think, back in the day, I'd been at the gym and don't get me wrong, this isn't a diss on people who
Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
gyms. It's just not my thing, you know? Although never say never. Uh, or lots of cardio and that kind of thing. But now when I wake up, it's like, okay, so what do I need? And it might be a run. It might be a stretch, or it should, if I'm honest, I stretch most days. It might be weights. It might be actually, my body doesn't feel like doing anything
Mm.
today, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not beating myself up about it.
Yeah.
So my choices and choices are privilege, remember, because
Mm.
there are lots of people in the world who are going through menopause who
Mm.
actually might not have the money to join a gym, might not have the money to, or the time
Or
to
where they are in the
make a
world as
choice about,
well,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I feel like I'm aware of the privilege that comes with, even though I'm also aware that lots of people have more privilege than me
Yeah.
based on the colour of their skin, based on their socio-economic background, and so on and so forth. But I don't know what the point was. The point is we have the answers. It's just that we need to be given the opportunity to go quiet. And often we've got to get that money, honey.
Mm,
Capitalism gonna
yeah.
capitalize, so it's hard.
What I've kind of heard throughout our whole conversation is that your instinct for turning inwards, to trust you, and at this point of menopause where all of this snow globiness, like
Yeah,
being shook about, is
yeah,
happening,
yeah.
is that coming back to that center
Mm,
and kind of sitting with yourself and
mm.
having this new, well, this opportunity, this gift, I suppose, of going, okay, so with what I have now, where do I want to go next? And
Yeah,
what is next for me? And who is this new version or this new iteration of me? And by sitting in this time that I'm kind of almost being forced to go through in a
yeah,
way of going, well, that's been stripped away.
yeah,
My body's not the same as it was. My mind's not the same as it was. So who am I?
yeah,
Who am I? And
yeah.
that's even in the earlier part of your life when you were talking about, your experiences with depression, and even further back then when your mum was at
Mm,
work. It's sitting in that space
mm.
and trusting you. And
Yeah,
do you think that's something that for other women you would say, sit with yourself and
yeah,
listen
it's
to
hard,
yourself?
man. There's so many distractions.
Yeah.
Instagram is a distraction. Social media is a distraction. If you remember that society is built around trying to get us to buy shit.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Follow the money.
Yeah.
So there's distraction everywhere. I also feel like, a lot of industries do women a disservice
Mm.
because we're always looking at comparing, you know, what is it? Compare and despair,
Yeah.
or where we need the next trend, or if we have that pair of shoes or that handbag or that haircut, then everything will be different, and it will make, or look at adverts and the way they
Yeah.
advertise. If you eat this thing, then it will make you this person. So what I'm saying is very hard, and that's why I say depression was a gift. And it
Yeah.
sounds really like what? Um, but I will say that society, needs to be much more mindful about how we allow people who are experiencing life changes that often come with perimenopause and menopause to look after themselves and be helped in their own way.
Yeah.
So it might be MHT, it might be medically, hormone therapy, it might be that you just need a space to go and sit quietly. It might be a journaling workshop. It could be all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I think that I spent a long time masking.
Mm.
Fashion was part of that. Being in a relationship where I was concentrating on the relationship was part of that. Motherhood takes a lot out of
Yeah.
you. Trying to be the best that I could be in my job. All of those things kept me very, very busy, but kept me apart from myself. And so now I'm much more honest with myself. Like I will try very hard to either call myself out on my bullshit or surround myself with people who will do that.
Yeah.
I'm getting older, and as I'm 64 soon, I can't wait. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
aging. I love that. I feel
Such a
like it's a
privilege to
privilege.
age. Yeah.
I'm here. The alternative is a bit shit. All that kind of stuff.
For me, what I would like to say is I think, and what you were saying is about, again, trusting yourself and having those
It's
spaces where
yeah,
people can, have compassion for others and
yeah,
vice versa.
yeah.
But also, I think coming to a place of hearing you saying about, okay, if you're going through this, part of your life now,
Mm,
trust you,
mm,
trust who you are, and
mm.
and be gentle with yourself as well.
And the way you trust yourself, because people say, "Well, how do I trust myself? I don't know. I don't even know who I am." Like lots of women say, "I don't know who I am anymore."
Yeah,
You know. But I also think that it's also about, like I said, being helped to do that. Experiment, try new things. We're so stuck in our little box. We've always been the person who, I don't know, has everybody around for Christmas dinner. We're
yeah,
always the person that people call for a favour. Always that person. try new things. Say no to a few things that you don't like doing, or try and, um, go out to a different place or go to work in a different way. G- get your brain working in a different way. I just feel like we need to
We'll come back to
be
this
allowed
conversation,
to do
definitely, because
that,
there's so much more that we haven't spoken about, but we
No, I
genuinely have run out of
know.
time for today. But it has been a beautiful conversation, and I've absolutely loved spending time with you. Thank you so much for being with me. If you'd like even more from Karen, you can follow her on Instagram at the Karen Arthur, where you can find out more about all of Karen's brilliant projects that we didn't get to talk about today. So please do go there. And to find out more about Menopause Whilst Black, you can visit the website menopausewhilstblack.com. or download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. For more wellbeing and lifestyle from us, you can visit us at our website, thecapsule.co.uk, where you can catch up with our previous podcast episodes by visiting the podcast page and subscribing to any of our podcast channels. You can also drop us a message at our Instagram at Official Capsule if you'd like to get involved with us on socials, or put any questions to us or our future guests. We always love hearing from you, so keep those messages coming. I will be back next week with another very special guest, but today I'm so sad. All that's left for us to say is goodbye, and it's goodbye from Karen.
Thank you for having me. No, it's been a brilliant chat.
And thank you, and goodbye from me. See you next week.